Hello and welcome coders to the Sky Coding. This is chapter 4 of our MySQL tutorial series, and in this session we will cover about these 4 statements, that how can we insert the data, how can we update the data in the MySQL tables, and how can we delete the data, and how can we fetch the data based on some conditions using select statements. These 4 statements are very important and we will cover all these things in brief in practical. So don't worry guys, watch the video and enjoy the video till the end. So let's get started without wasting any time, and let's see all these 4 statements in brief from basic to advanced level. And guys, talking about the previous session, so in the previous session we have covered all about the table. So if you have not watched my previous session, so the link will be given in the description box for the chapter 3, so you can watch all the descriptive video of about MySQL tables from the description box for better understanding. So first of all, let's create a table, and after that then we will insert the data, update the data, delete the data, and we will fetch the data based on some condition from that table only, right? So this is the table metadata which I have just copied from our chapter 3. This is the chapter 3 MySQL script, and I have just created this script on that chapter 3 days. Okay, so I am just copying this thing, and in fact I have already copied this thing, okay, because if you will write in the video, then video will be more longer and it will be just a waste of time and time consuming, because we have already learned that how can we create the table, right? So this is just a simple metadata for creating a table. Create table employee ID is just a column, and we are just specifying in front of the column name their data type, that what data type that column will store, right? So here we have just increased these columns. Employee email will be varchar, employee DOB means date of birth will be just a date, right? And employee department will be just a varchar. Okay, so before creating the table, let's create a separate database. Okay, so create database create database chapter 4, right? So let's execute this and let's refresh the schemas, and you can see we got chapter 4. Okay, and let's use the database, use chapter 4, so that whatever query we write in this SQL script, it will fetch the data from this chapter 4 database only. Okay, so chapter 4 database is used now. Now let's create this table, and we will be just using this table in our whole video. Okay, and guys, in place of integer you can also specify the maximum values, like we are giving in the work as maximum value that 44, that this email column can be just enter the values till 44 is the maximum value. So in place of integer you can also specify the value. Suppose that in phone we are just giving as 12, right? So you can just give 12. Suppose that if someone is entering some different country name, some different country phone numbers, okay, so that will be just a 12 or 15 like that with some different country phone numbers. Okay, so that's why we are just giving this as 12. You can give like this way as well. Okay, I'm just telling you some different methods. Okay, so all things are ready. We have used the database, so let's create the table first, then we will see how can we insert the data. Okay, so table created it successfully, and now let's see that how can we insert the data. Okay, so for inserting the data, first of all we will see insert. Okay, so let's write here insert, and in the insert what we will see that how can we insert a single row first, then we will see how can we insert the multiple rows, right? So for single row, let's write here single row. We will see how can we insert the single row. Okay, so for that what you can write is you have to write the query insert into, as I have told you already, you can write in caps lock or you can write in the small letters as well. There is no case sensitivity in MySQL, so you can use according to your mind. Okay, my table name is employee, insert into employee, and after that you have to write the values keyword, insert into employee values. And now you can give the column names, means these column names, or you can just write direct the values. Okay, so I am just writing direct values. Okay, insert into employee values, and now we will write the values, whatever values I want to enter in this table. Okay, so first of all we will write integer employee ID, as whatever values are in integer we will not specify, and we will not write those integer values in double quotes. We have to write integer values without double quotes or single quotes. It means without any quotation marks. But the values which are in string, means varchar, we will write those values in the single quotes, or you can call it as a quotation marks. Okay, so as employee ID is an integer, so we will not write in the quotes. We are just giving 100, and employee name, let's give Ranjit. So Ranjit is a string value, so I am giving in single quotes. And after that employee address, let's give as Lucknow in single quotes, and employee salary, let's give 20,000, as it is a string, so and as it is an integer, so I am not giving in double quotes or single quotes. Let's write for phone number. So let's write some random values in employee phone, and now let's write our next column is employee email. So employee email will be ranjit@gmail.com, and after that I have to write date of birth. So date of birth is just we are entering the date. So I have written the separate point for this inserting the date in MySQL table. So let's discuss this thing here only, because there is a need to insert the date in the employee table, as we are just entering the employee DB. Okay, so wherever you want to insert the date, you have to just give the column name and you have to specify the data type to that column as date only. Okay, so if you want to insert the date here, okay, so our requirement is to insert the date. Okay, so by default, let me tell you, by default the date format of MySQL table is year, month and day. Okay, so whatever date you are entering in the table, you have to write first year, then month, then day. Okay, so we have to write like this, in this format, right? Let me tell you here, y, and after that month will be there, and after that day will be there. Okay, so year, month and day, this is the format, okay, for entering the date, okay, in the MySQL tables. Okay, so as suppose that date of birth of this Ranjit is 10 July 2004. So first of all I have to write 2004. After that we have to write 07 for July, and for the day we will write 10. Okay, so let's write here, and we have to specify this in single quotes. And suppose I have to write first of all year. So year will be 2004, and after that for separating month and year we have to write we have to use this hyphen, or you can call it as a dash or minus, whatever you like, and 2004, and month will be 07 for July, and day will be 10. Okay, after that you have to close this, and this is the date, and after that department will be, suppose that he is from HR department. Okay, so I am writing HR department, and after that you have to close the parenthesis which you have started here, and after that you have to close this query by putting the semicolon. Okay, so this is how you have to write the insert query for inserting the data into any table. Okay, insert into employee values, and we are writing all of the values according to the columns. Okay, so 100 is employee ID, employee name, employee address, employee salary, employee phone, employee email, employee date of birth, and employee department. You can match from here. Okay, so now let me just execute this, and let's see where we are getting the data or not. So before executing this, let's first of all check the data. Okay, as obviously there will be no data in the table, but let's check the data. Okay, select a strict from employee. Okay, and let's see. Okay, we are having only the column names, as we are not having any of the data. Okay, so let's refresh this schema, and let's see the table. We are having this employee table, and let's execute this, and let's see what data. Okay, you can see insert into employee is done, one row affected, and let's now check the data in the table. Okay, so you can see we are having the table employee ID, and we are having all of the data, employee name, and this is the date, department, and employee phone and employee email, like this. Okay, so this is the thing by which you can insert the data in the table. Okay, this is for single row. How can we insert the single row? Okay, and if you want to insert the record in multiple rows, okay, as here we are just entering the single row, this is just a single row. Okay, let me show you here. Okay, by showing the data. Okay, so this is a single row data. Okay, this is a single row data. Okay, and suppose that you want to enter multiple rows, means for employee ID 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105 up to 150. So how can you enter the multiple rows data into any of the MySQL table in one go? Okay, so let me tell you that thing as well. Okay, so let's write here for multiple rows, right? Let's specify this as comment, and let's write here multiple row. So for multiple row, what you have to do, you have to just write the query like this way only. So let's copy this from here, and let's paste here, insert into employee values, and you have to change this to this, and let's change the name, and let's change the name to Ankit, and let's change the location to Delhi, and rest all the things will be same, and let's change the email to Ankit, and date of birth and these things let it be same. And for this thing let's put as sales department. Okay, sales department, and this is for the single value. Okay, for the employee ID 1001 101, as 100 is already there, and this is for 101. Okay, and suppose that I want to enter the values of any other row as well, so you have to just put the comma, and after that you have to just simply write your another row value. Okay, So for that also you can just simply copy this thing instead of writing all the things, as I am just doing this for practice only. This is for just a dummy, so I'm just copying and pasting and just changing some values. Okay, so let's change this to Aman, and let's change location to Bangalore, and let's change the email. Let's change the email to Aman @ and let's put here @outlook.com. okay, outlook.com. okay, so let's write in the small letters outlook.com, and let's change the department to, okay, let's change the department to analyst. Okay, analyst. Okay, and suppose that I want to enter some more another row, so I will just copy and I will paste here. Okay, in this way you can just enter the multiple rows in one go also. Okay, so let's give here analyst, and you have to put the comma, and let's change this to 103, and in place of comma let's give Anu, and let's give the location to Mumbai, and let's change this to Anu @ let's give this to mumbai.com, and let's change the position to SE, means software engineer. Okay, and after that, suppose that these are the multiple rows data which you want to enter in this table, and suppose that you have written 100 rows. Okay, by putting the comma, and in the last row you have to put the semicolon for ending up this query. Okay, so suppose that you want to enter the 100 rows, so you have to just write one row data, and after that you have to put the comma, and after that again you have to write your second row, after that you have to put the comma. In this way you can write hundreds of rows like this way. Okay, by putting the comma. Okay, so I'm just entering these 3 rows only for just analysis purpose, for just showing you the demo. So in fact you can write 100, 2000 or any type of rows, any multiple rows data you can enter in one go in the table. Okay, so let's insert this thing. Okay, you can see 3 rows affected, and now let's check the data. You can see we got all the rows. Earlier we have inserted this row only, 100 employee ID, and now we have inserted these 3 rows, that is 1001 employee ID, 100, 102 and 103. We have inserted all these 3 rows data in one go. Okay, so by this way you can just insert the data into the multiple rows. Okay, here we are just inserting one row, means we are just inserting the single row data into the table. Here we are just inserting the multiple rows data in one go only. Okay, so you can use this thing. Okay, and suppose that you want to insert some partial values. Okay, here I have written that insert partial field values. So how can you do that? Okay, so let's write here. Okay, partial fields data if you want to enter. Okay, so how can we enter that partial fields data? Okay, so partial fields data, let me tell you what's the meaning of this statement. So the statement meaning is that here what we are doing, here we are inserting the data for all of the columns here, right? Here you can see, here we are just inserting the data for all of these columns, as here we are taking the employee ID, name, location and all these things. Whatever the columns are present here, we are just entering the data to all those columns. Okay, and suppose that you want to just enter the data to any specific column. So how can you do that? Okay, so that's called the partial fields data. Okay, so for that you have to write the same query, insert into your table name is employee, and after that you have to write values. Okay, so before values you have to do one thing, you have to write your column names in which you want to enter the data. Okay, suppose that I want to enter the data for only these 3 columns, employee ID, employee name and employee address. So how can we do that? So for that we have to write the columns here. Okay, in which column you want to enter the data. Okay, so suppose that I want to enter the data to this column, employee ID. So I will write like this way, employee ID comma employee name, and next is employee address. Okay, so I will write like this way, employee address, and after I have to close the parenthesis, and after that you have to write the value. What it is showing, error state. Okay, it is just incomplete, that's why it is showing. Okay, so after that you have to write the values keyword, and after that you have to write your values here. Okay, so now I have to just write these values, means these 3 column values only. Okay, employee ID let's give as 104, and okay, let's remove this quote. 104, and employee name let's give as Sky, and for the employee address, third column is for address, and let's put comma here, and for the address let's give LK Lucknow. Okay, let's write Delhi. Okay, and now you have to close, and now you have to put the semicolon. Okay, so by this way you can insert the partial fields data, and let's execute this, and you can see one row affected. Okay, so suppose that our requirement is to just insert these much of data, means employee ID, employee name, and employee address. Okay, so I have just written insert into employee, and I have written those columns where I want to insert the data, and after that I have written those values according to this thing. Okay, earlier we are inserting full data according to these columns. Okay, we are inserting the data in all of these columns. Okay, so we are writing the query like this way, full data we are inserting, but here we are just inserting the data into these columns only, employee ID, employee name, and employee address, means only these columns, employee ID, employee name, employee address. Okay, so we are just writing here insert into employee, and you have to write whatever columns where you want to enter the data, you have to write those column names, and after that you have to write the values keyword, and after that you have to write this thing here, you have to write those values which you want to enter in these columns. Okay, so we have inserted the data, and now let's check the data what we got here. Okay, you can see we got this data 104 is Sky Delhi, and rest employee salary, employee phone, which data I have not inserted, that is just coming in null. Okay, because we have not inserted any data for this Sky name, and we have not inserted any employee salary, employee phone, employee email, DOB, and department for this 104 ID. Okay, so that's why those are showing null. Okay, so by this way you can just insert partial fields data if there is a requirement like this. Okay, so this is all about partial fields data. Okay, now we have done this thing, partial fields data, how can we insert the data in some particular fields, and for the insert date we have done this thing already. For inserting date you have to write the first of all year, and after that you have to write the month, and after that you have to write the date. Okay, so by default the mysql date format is year, month, and date. Okay, so you have to write like that way as well. So now we have done all of the inserts, inserting the data, inserting the single row, and inserting the row where date is there, and what is the format, and multiple row, and partial fits. We have seen all these things. Okay, so now let's give the separator, and now let's move to the update. That is our second thing. Second is update. How can we update the data? Let's see quickly how can we update. Okay, update is single row, multiple row, and full row. We will check all these things. Okay, so suppose that you want to update a single column. First of all we will see for the single column. Okay, so let's write here update single column. So how can we update the single column? Okay, so suppose that I want to update in this employee. Okay, so how can we do that thing? Okay, so let's remove this thing first, this red cross. Okay, so update single column, you have to write the update keyword for updating, and after that you have to write the table name. As my table name is employee, so I want to update this table, update employee, and after that we will use the set keyword here, set keyword, and where clause. Okay, where clause we will see in brief in the upcoming videos. Meanwhile I will tell you the some basic idea about where clause. Where means we will suppose that there is a requirement for putting some condition for fetching the data based on some condition, then we will use where. Okay, suppose that I want to fetch the data for all the employees who belongs to city Lucknow, so I will write like this way, select employee name from employee table where city name is equals to Lucknow, like that. Okay, so where we are just using for filtering the data. Okay, based on some condition. Okay, set, we will use set. Suppose that what I want to do, I want to change the email address. Okay, email address, or you can take any values. Okay, so suppose that I want to change the email address for this employee 101 where name is Ankit and email address is ankit@gmail.com. So I want to change this. Okay, so let's write the table name update employee set, and this column name is emp email, right? You can check in the table metadata, you can see here. Okay, emp email is there, emp email. So I want to change this thing. Okay, so emp email, and we have to write that what email you want now. Okay, so suppose that his email is ankit@gmail.com. so I want to change this Ankit to Ankit Kumar 92@gmail.com. I want to change this email from ankit@gmail.com to Ankit Kumar 92@gmail.com. so I will write like this way, and after that you can just put the condition, okay, where you want to update this thing, okay. So because if you will just execute this much now, then it will not understand that where you want to update this email address. So you have to tell this query that you want to set email of Ankit Kumar to this Ankit Kumar 92@gmail.com. You want to change this email address to this email address. So you have to tell this query that you have to do this thing, as you are just telling the computer that you have to do this thing, okay. So here, if you are executing this much, then it will not understand. So for that, we will use the where clause, okay. We will simply write where id. We will use emp id. Emp id is equals to emp id is equals to 101, okay. You can write like this, emp id is equals to 101, okay. Basically in most of the time we have used id only for just filtering, okay. Or you can just write here where emp name is equals to Ankit, or you can write where address is equals to Delhi, or MP department is sales department. So it will just move there in that column, and it will change the email of that column to this, okay. You can use anything here, as we are just using MPID, okay. So let's execute this and let's see whether our email is changing or not, okay. So what it is saying, you are using the safe mode. So guys, you can see I am facing this issue. You are using safe update mode, okay. So as I have just recently installed this thing, as my laptop is some different connected with the domain, so that's why it has just enabled safe mode. So if you are also facing the same issue of safe mode, then I will tell you that how can we resolve this safe mode issue, okay. So for that, you have to just move to this edit section, and you have to move to the preferences, and you have to move to this SQL editor, and you have to scroll down, and here you will see one option for safe updates, rejects updates and deletes with no restrictions. So yeah, it will be just checkbox already, so you have to just disable this, and you have to just click OK. And after that, you have to just close your this query tab, and after that you have to just open the server again, and you have to just log into this workbench again, then it will work fine, okay. So let's log out and let's log in again. So let's give the password, and let's give the password. Okay, now it's now I have logged in again, and now let's move to the SQL query tab 3, and now let's update this thing, and let's see whether it is working or not, okay. So I have logged in again, so let's use the database first. Use chapter, okay, let's write chapter, use chapter 3, and let's execute. What it is saying, unknown database chapter, okay, chapter 4 is there, okay. Sorry guys, chapter 4 is there, so it's used now. And now let's update this thing, okay. And you can see guys, update employee is just working fine, okay. As it was just showing the error for safe mode earlier, but now it's working fine, okay. So if you are facing the error, then you have to just solve that error. You don't have to be panic in that thing, okay, because errors are very important. If you are getting the error, then you are just learning the things only, because if you got the error, then you will just remember that thing in your lifetime, okay. So now update is done. Now let's check the data in our table, and let's see. Select strip from employee, and let's see, okay. You can see, okay, sky we have inserted the same rows 3-4 times, okay, because sometimes due to safe mode I have just run this query again and again. That's why it has inserted 104 again and again, okay. So no worry guys, that's a different thing, okay. Now our goal is to check the employee ID for 101, and let's see email changed to Ankit Kumar or not, okay. 101 and email is changed to Ankit Kumar 92@gmail.com, okay. You can see we have changed the email to Ankit Kumar 92@gmail.com, okay. Earlier it was having Ankit@gmail.com, okay. So by this way you can change the value of any of the single column, okay. And now let's see how can we update the multiple column, okay. So let's write comment here first, and let's write for multiple column. If you want to update multiple column, then how can we do that thing, okay. So let's copy the same thing instead of writing, okay. Let's undo this thing, and let's copy the same thing, and let's paste here, and update employee, and this time we will use some different columns, okay. We will just set a name, right. We will just set the name, set emp name we will set to some, suppose that where employee ID Let's check the employee ID. Let's change the name this time for employee ID 102 Aman. Okay, so let's change the employee ID to 102 and let's change the name for EMP ID 10022. Let's write Natasha. Okay, for 102 Aman, I am just changing this Aman name to Natasha. Okay, and suppose that I want to change some another column. Earlier we are just changing one column only. Okay, suppose that I want to change some another column also, EMP name, and suppose that I want to change EMP address as well. So I will write like this way, EMP address. As now what address we are having Bangalore, so we will change this to Lucknow. So I will write the query like this way. Okay, and suppose that I want to change some another column, as suppose that I want to change the, this is just a EMP department, right? So I want to change the EMP department, so I will write like this way, department, and suppose that I want to change this to developer. Okay, so I will write like this. In this way you can just put the comma and you can write any number of columns where you want to update. Okay, you can write anything. Okay, so like this way you can just update multiple columns. Okay, so let's execute this thing and let's see. You can see query affected and query is run and one row affected. Let's verify this thing. Okay, so we have changed for 102 we have changed the name from Aman to Natasha, and we have changed the location, and we have changed the department to developer. You can see. Okay, earlier what we are having, let me show you that thing as well. So earlier what we are having, yeah, earlier we are having 102 Aman name was Aman, now it changed to Natasha, location was Bangalore, changed to Lucknow now, and the department was analyst, now it changed to developer. Okay, so by this way you can just update maximum any number of columns, okay, or maximum number of columns. Okay, that's the different thing. Okay, so multiple column is also done, and if you want to update the full row, then let's write this is just the same. Okay, full row, if you want to update a full row. Okay, so full row means whatever the columns, whatever the values are there, you want to update the full row. Then how can you do that? You can do the same thing by this way only. This is just the same thing. Let me copy paste. EMP name is Natasha. After that we are having EMP address, and after that which column I am having? Address. After address we are having salary, phone, and email. Okay, so I will write here EMP salary will be just let's write some random numbers, and after salary we are having EMP phone, so I will give phone, and after that I am having EMP email. I think, let's check here, EMP phone, EMP email, and DOB. Okay, so EMP email, let's write np@gmail.com, and after that I am having another column for EMP DOB, right? EMP DOB, so I will write EMP DOB as 200507, and date will be just 20. Okay, and after that we are finally having this one, EMP, this is department. Okay, so if you want to update the full row of any of the column, right, so you can update like this way. Update employees, set EMP name, let's change this name to Nancy. Okay, ANCY, Nancy. Okay, Nancy, EMP address, EMP salary. You can write the column, all column names, and you have to just give the values. Okay, and EMP department and all those things. Okay, where EMP ID is 102. Okay, 102 is for Aman. Let's change for 103 unknown. Okay, let's change. Okay, 103, and let's execute, and you can see it's run successfully. And now let's check the data. Select asterisk from employee, and let's verify. Okay, you can see for EMP 103 ID we got Nancy, Lucknow, and all the things, and P, and it is she is a developer, right? You can see here. Earlier we are having SC, software engineer, and now we have changed. Okay, so by this way you can just update the full row. Okay, so this is for updating. Okay, and let me tell you one most important thing. And suppose that you want to use means update the domain. Here is in email we are having this domain, right? @outlook.com, @gmail.com, @mumbai.com. So suppose that you have by mistaken written the email for this thing as, let's take example for this, Nancy and here by mistake I have written np@gmail.com. Here we have written @gmail.com. Okay, and suppose that I want to change this @gmail.com domain to @skycoding.com. So how you will just change that domain name? Okay, so we will use that replace string in that case. Okay, so let me tell you that how can we use that thing. Okay, so for that let me write here update statement to replace string. Okay, so for that what you can do is you can write the update employee, we will write, and after that we will just set emp email, and we will just use this replace keyword. Okay, replace, and what you want to replace? I want to replace emp email. I want to replace the things in emp email column. Okay, emp email. Okay, and after that I want to replace this thing, right? At the rate, we are having @gmail.com, right? So we will write here @gmail.com. I want to replace this thing @gmail.com. Okay, and after that you have to write what you want in place of this thing, means in place of this @gmail.com domain, which new domain you want to enter. Okay, so suppose that I want a new domain is skycoding.com. okay, suppose that I want this domain. Okay, so I will give like this way, and after that you have to close the parenthesis, and after that you have to give the condition where you can write where emp id is equals to, you can change for 103, and you can just go like this. Okay, so if you want to do some specific changes, means here we are just changing the domain, right? Domain, this one. So I will just use this replace keyword. Okay, so replace is the keyword which you can use for replacing in the update statement for any of the string. Okay, so update employee, set emp email as we are setting here, right? And we are just set emp email, we are just replacing this @gmail.com domain to this skycoding.com where employee ID is 103. Okay, so let's execute this and let's see the output. Okay, let's verify here, and you can see for the 103 Nancy we got np skycoding.com. okay, you can see. Okay, and I forgot to give @. Okay, that's why it is not showing @ here. Okay, so you have to just give here @ as well. Okay, yeah, like this way, np @skycoding.com. okay, so let's change this thing in some 102 id. Let's check the data for 102. okay, for 102 we are having @outlook.com. okay, so I will change right here @outlook.com, because I want to change in place of @outlook.com I want to give this domain. Okay, so let's run this thing and let's verify the thing. You can see for 102 Natasha we got this aman @skycoding.com, @skycoding.com. earlier we are having @outlook.com. okay, so by this way you can change the domain. Okay, you can see earlier we are having let me show here for this thing, earlier we are having @outlook.com, but now we change this to @skycoding.com. okay, so by this way you can use this replace string method. Okay, so this is all about this update, and now let's see delete, and after that we will see select, then we will end up this session. Okay, so now let's see the third thing, that is delete. Okay, so for the delete, suppose that you want to delete any row, so how can you delete that thing? Okay, so here in the delete what we have written, I have written this for sample delete from customer, or suppose that there is any in customer table. Okay, so you can delete based on some condition like this. Okay, so that's a thing which I have written there. Okay, so delete, and suppose that you want to delete something, so you will write here delete from, as I am having table employee, delete from employee, and we will use the where condition here, where clause where, and suppose that you want to delete on base of id, so you will write where employee id is equals to 100. okay, so it will delete the 100 employee id data. So let's execute this thing and let's verify. Let's write the select query, select history from employee for fetching all of the data, and you can see 100 id data gone from the table. Okay, and suppose that you want to delete for 101, so let's execute and let's see here. Okay, You can see 101 gone from here. Okay, so by this way you can delete some data. Okay, and there is no need that there is no compulsory, or there is no need that you have to just write employee ID here only. You can write employee name, employee address, employee salary, or employee department if they are unique value. But basically we recommend that you have to write here some unique values only, means which is we are just taking the primary key values here only. Okay, employee ID like this. Okay, so this is for deleting. And suppose that you want to delete by using order by clause as well. Okay, you can just order by, and you can just put the limit as well. Okay, that's thing we will see in the upcoming videos where we will see the clauses. Okay, meanwhile this thing we use for delete. Okay, as in the previous session we have discussed about delete in brief, that we have seen that the difference between delete and truncate and drop. Okay, so if you are dropping some table, then it will delete the table with the data. But if you are truncating the table, then table will remain in the database, but it will just delete all of the data. Okay, so delete is done based on some condition, and whenever we will learn that clauses order by having clause, then we will see this delete thing again in brief. Okay, so as now we have not learned those clauses, right? So that's why we are not moving this thing in brief. Okay, and now we are left with select, right? Select single, multiple, all, unique. Let's see this thing. So if you want to select the single column, okay, single column, if you want to select, so you will write the query like this way. Select, suppose that in our table we are having employee name. Okay, let's select first employee ID, or let's select employee name. Okay, single column. Okay, select employee name from employee. Okay, so it will show you only employee name. Select employee name, this is the column name, and from which table I want to get this, I want to fetch this from employee table. Okay, our table. Okay, so I will, what it is writing. Okay, it is just taking this thing as well. Okay, so let's specify that thing and let's check. You can see employee name, we got all of the employee names. Okay, and suppose that you want to check employee address, so you can write that column name like this. Okay, so this is for fetching the single column. Okay, and suppose that if you want to fetch multiple column, then also it is same. You can write the column names by putting the comma, employee address, employee email, okay, employee salary, okay, employee DOB. So you can write like this. Okay, what it is saying, error. Okay, let's give the comma, as we are not specifying these comments. No, that's why it is just taking upper query as well for execution. Okay, you can see we got multiple column. Okay, for multiple column is done. And if you want to fetch for all rows data, so for all rows, let's give semicolon here. So for all rows, as we are just using this thing from starting, asterisk we use for fetching all rows from the table. Okay, from employee, and let's execute. You can see we got all of the data here. Okay, and suppose that you want to fetch some values based on some distinct values. Okay, so you can write like this. We select distinct column. Okay, if you are having any duplicacy values, okay, then it will show you some distinct values only. So I will write like this way, distinct, and you have to write suppose that emp address. Okay, emp address, select distinct emp address, and you have to write employee, means table name. Okay, so let's execute this, and you can see we got only Lucknow and Delhi. Okay, and if we will check all of the data in the table, then you can, okay, let's check for address only. Okay, let's check for address, so it will not show those duplicate values. Okay, so let's check the data. Okay, select in place of string, let's check for address only, address from employee. So you can see we are having Lucknow 2 times and we are having Delhi 3 times. Okay, so if you want to check the distinct means unique value, so if you are using this distinct keyword, so it will show on Lucknow 1 time and it will show Delhi 1 time only. As we are having Lucknow 2 times and Delhi 3 times address for our employees, so it will show these things 1 time. Okay, because we are just putting this distinct keyword for just getting the details for unique fields available in our table. Okay, so if we will run this thing, then it will show only Lucknow and Delhi. Okay, so by this way you can just check the unique fields or distinct fields available in the table. Okay, So let's write here, this is for a unique or distinct fields. Okay, you can check unique or distinct fields by this way. Okay, so that's all for today's session, and you can use the clauses here as well. You can use as here we are giving like this, select emp address, emp email from employee. So you can use here where, and you can write where employee address or is this thing, or emp name is this thing, or emp id or emp dop is this thing, as we are just doing here, right? In updation, you can use the clauses as well for fetching the data using the select statement. Okay, so that's a very simple thing, you can do that thing, and rest of the things we will see in upcoming sessions, where we will learn about the clause, because clauses is a very important thing, having clause group by clause. Okay, we will see that. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Meet you soon in the next very interesting tutorial, and all of these queries will be available in my GitHub account, so you can join that, or you can use or join my WhatsApp group as well. And if you are facing any type of queries, you can just ask me, and feel free to ask anything with me. Okay, and share anything with me. Okay, so that's all. Bye, take care of yourself, guys.